Hello everyone, it's day 60 and today we are looking at Numbers 14 and 15 and Psalms 90 as well. And we can see that in previous chapters Moses has sent some men to explore the Canaan land, and so when they got back they gave the negative report except for Joshua and Caleb. So after Israelites heard the negative report from those 10 to 12 spies, they broke down in fear. They cried throughout the night and complained to Moses and Aaron, and they also wished they had died in Egypt. And they also even planned to choose a new leader and return to slavery. But Moses and Aaron cried unto God and interceded for them. But in the meanwhile, we can see the Israelites, they were terrified. But on the other side, we can also see Joshua and Caleb, and they have a different story to tell, and they urged the people to trust God, and their message was, land is good, God will give it to us, and do not fear the people. So when the crowd heard what they said, they actually want to stone Caleb and Joshua, and they didn't want to trust God at all. So God says, we can see here that God says, how long will my people not trust me? So we can see here Moses intercedes again, asking God to forgive those people. But here we can see that God forgives people, but there are consequences for everything. So after even God forgave, but there were consequences which remained. So they wandered for 40 years, and because they refused to trust God, their generation would not enter the promised land, and only Joshua and Caleb will get to the land. And also we can see in the chapter, suddenly they try to fight the enemy, but when Moses warns them, God isn't with you, but still they go anyway, and they lose badly here in chapter 14. We can see that. And further, if you go to the chapter 15, we can see that God is so loving, and he talks about the life, what it will be like in the promised land. And people have failed many times, but God is so loving, and he forgave, and he kept his promises. Promises have not failed. And even when they didn't trust God, still had a plan to bless them, the generations to come. And in this chapter we can see the laws about offering, and God says like the native and Israelites and foreigners must follow the same law. And also we can see about the accidental and deliberate sin and their offering for the sins, we can see in this chapter. And also we can see about the Sabbath. If someone breaks the Sabbath, they're basically ignoring God. That's what we get to see here, and they face a severe punishment. And so if you look at when you call Sabbath, it's not just keeping the day, but it's a sign of relationship with God. Here we can also see about tassels, and God tells them to wear tassels too, and as a reminder to obey him. So I want to conclude this chapter by saying that if you don't trust God, and if you have fear will bring nothing but it always cancels God's plan for your life. But when you stand on faith, God elevates you. And sometimes standing on faith means standing out, not fitting like what we see here in Joshua and Caleb's life. And even if we sin, God is so gracious, he forgives us, but there are consequences. And God is always loving, he forgives our mistakes, and he keeps his promise. And also when we look further into Psalms 90, this is the Psalms is written by Moses. I think this is only the one that's written by him. It is both a prayer and a reflection on the contrast between God's eternity and human fragility here. So we can see Moses starts saying, starts this chapter by saying, God is our home and God existed before anything else, before mountains, planets, and time itself. And here we can see that Moses reminds us that human life is short, time flies, and we are like a grass that grows in the morning and fades by the evening. And also Moses talks about how human sin leads to the brokenness, pain, and consequences. And this is a very popular verse that we all know. Teach us to number our days. Here basically Moses saying that he's asking God to teach our day, to realize how our lives is so short, and to have to live with the wisdom. And we can also say that Moses asked God not only to forgive and restore, but to give meaning to the labor. So we can see in the chapter, the last verse, we can see that may the favor of the Lord our God rest on us, establish the works of our hands for us. Yes, establish the works of our hands. So Moses here ends with a hope. He says that God's love satisfies us. God restores what is broken and give purpose to our work. And you don't have to figure out everything alone. When God fills your heart, you know what to do, and everything changes. So I just want to conclude the Psalms by saying that it's a reminder that God is eternal and unchanging, and our lives are short and fragile. And this is my prayer, so that God teaches to use our daily life wisely, as our lives are short, not to waste it. Live for God, make the choices that have impact, and we all know that sins have consequences, but we still have hope. And asking God for the guidance, wisdom, and joy and love in our lives. Thank you so much for hearing out. Have a wonderful day.